Huh? No, yo ganas. Yes.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, online.
Good morning. Hi. This audio is not good. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
All right. I couldn't hear you properly earlier. So trust you are doing fine.
Yes.
Great.
This one, you want for our
Yeah, this is Ridwan Kolawole.
You are not also present.
Good morning to everyone. Is my audio clear? Is my audio clear? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you, Prof.
Okay, I want to be sure that those who are on ground are able to hear us so loud and clear. Can somebody confirm that we are on live?
Yes, can hear you.
Okay. I think it's time for us to start. It's already 9:15 a.m. But over here, where I'm located, it's just about 4 a.m. So we would like to appreciate everyone for making it to this session. We have exactly 90 minutes from this period from this time, and we have about 4 paper presenters, and we're going to allocate the time judiciously so that we can make the maximum use of our session. Each of the 4 paper presenters will have a baseline time presentation of 10 minutes. I can allow you up to 12 minutes if you are so passionate about what you are doing. I will also allow the discussants a time space of 10 minutes. And I'm also going to use 10 minutes, 5 minutes at the beginning as I'm doing now, and maybe 5 minutes to wrap up the session. So that leaves us with a balance of 30 minutes for discussion of all the papers. So I hope all our participants, especially the paper presenters, will be able to flow along with this time. I will be doing timing and cut you, at the appropriate time. I will give you a 3 minutes to the end time prompting, and then please let us, follow the timeline rules strictly so that we can get the best out of this session. I want to welcome you again, and this session is a session, titled Separatists and Political Agitation Since the Fourth Republic. Fourth Republic referring to the current dispensation in our Nigerian experience. I would like to also note or indicate at the onset that identity has been a major issue in our identity crisis has been a major issue in our nation today. For us as Nigerians, we have to contend with people who believe that how Nigerian is my Nigerianness. Out here in the United States, not many people are happy or proud to be identified as Nigerian. I am happy to be one because I know there is no nation without any fair share of its own crisis. But today we gather here to interrogate separatist agitation, from 4 major paper presentation perspectives. And we have a distinguished professor, Professor Michael Abedon, as the discussant. He will be spending about 12 minutes. That's an allotted time of 4 minutes per paper to discuss each of the paper and then round up. So we will allow each of the presenters to make their presentation, and then we do a general, comment session to wrap up in order to manage their time effectively. For the 4 presenters, I have Adedeji Ademola from Obafemi Awolowo University, who will be presenting Voices from the Margins, a separatist agitation and the struggle for political inclusion since 1999. He doing a study of IPOB and the Niger Delta Avengers. That's a paper presenter number 1, and he will also have his 10 minutes allotment of time. The second presenter is Oluchi Vivian Agbasimere. You pardon me for my pronunciation if it's not near correct. Agbasimere will be discussing shifts in political expression, a case study of Eastern Security Network of the Southeast Nigeria. The third paper presenter will be Feyi Sayo Akindoyin and Shina Alimi, both from Obafemi. Oluchi is from University of Nigeria, Nsukka. Feyi Sayo and Alimi are from Obafemi Awolowo. These are the second group of presenters from OAU. They will be talking about violence and vulnerability in African social political space, new behavioral crisis as an instance. The last but not the least of our presenter will be Ridwan Falawale from Fountain University, I think in Osogbo, talking about media and stakeholders' representations of IPOB secessionists in Nigeria. So without much ado, I would like to welcome us to take our seat properly while we embark on this flight. My 5 minutes introduction is up, and I'm going to defer now to the first presenter, Adedeji Ademola from Obafemi Awolowo University, to begin his 10 minutes from now. Adedeji, if you're in the house, can you please go ahead?
It's not here, Bob.
Oh, it's not around. Okay. Let's assume that it will be on the way or will join us soon.
Yes.
Let's move on to Oluchi Vivian from University of Nigeria to begin our presentation.
Good morning, everyone. And okay, my name is Oluchi Vivian, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and I'm here to make my presentation, present a paper titled Shift in Political Expression, a case study of Eastern Security Network of Southeast Nigeria. It is imperative to know that separatist agitations, pressures, and threats of secession in Nigeria are often driven by perception of marginalization and unequal treatment among the various ethnic nationalities. Okay, Nigeria, a nation that is characterized by its ethnic diversity and complex political landscape, has faced several challenges over time. And issues such as erratic politics, coup d'etat, corruption, religious and ethnic rivalry, and inadequate administrative procedures have actually endangered the stability and unity of the country. It is because of these instabilities and inadequate administrative procedures that led to these issues that led to emergence of separatist groups. We all know the different separatist groups from the east, from the west, from the north, and all that. Okay, and I'm going to talk about the IPOB. It's because of this that indigenous people of Biafra under Nnamdi Kanu founded the Eastern Security Network. It's a non-military organization. It's just like the armed force of ESN, the Eastern Security Network. It's just like the paramilitary body of ESN, it's police that oversees his affairs. Like it's like a vigilante group that was formed because of several crises going on in the Southeast. So this paper is going to examine how ESN, a non-military organization, shaped the political landscape of Eastern Nigeria. It will also look at the historical background of ESN, how it emerged. We also look at the implications of this ESN, from the formation of ESN, the implications to Southeast Nigeria. Okay, looking at the historical background of ESN, the emergence of ESN can be traced to the long-standing grievances of the Igbo of Southeast Nigeria because since independence in 1960, the Igbos have always felt marginalized, both in the economic, in the political, and all that. And this feeling of marginalization accumulated into the Nigeria-Biafra War of 1967 to 1960. And during this, this war, lasted for 3 years, but it was unsuccessful because the leader, then Ojukwu, fled the country to Cote d'Ivoire, and his subordinate had to relinquish power, had to give up. So looking at this Eastern Security Network, you find out that the marginalization and the seclusion and the Igbos feeling secluded from the political and economic in quotes happenings in Nigeria made it like they had to. It was through this means that Nnamdi Kanu had to form this ESN. Okay, looking at it, what are the reasons that made this ESN to be formed? First of all, is, like I said, the long-standing grievances of the Nigeria-Biafra war. The second had to be with the marginalization, the political and the economic marginalization. And after that war, the reintegration of the Southeasterners to Nigeria was characterized by economic and political subjugation. Another reason why ESL was formed was because of the rising insecurity of the South in the Southeast due to kidnapping and this Fulani herdsmen insurgencies. People fled their farms, people were attacked in their farms, people were raped. So because of that, Nnamdi Kanu had to form that ESN in order to put an end to the insurgency happening in the East, and for people not to run away from their ancestral homes. So another reason why ESN was formed was because of the quest for self-determination, because the Southeast or the IPOB wants Biafra to succeed. They want a government of their own. They want a country of their own. So all these things are reasons why ESN was established. But along the line, Nnamdi Kanu was arrested in 2015, and in 2017 he fled. Then later rearrested in 2021 in Kenya and repatriated back to Nigeria. During all these things, Eastern Security Network changed from the vigilante group they were to fighting like a pro Biafra cause, fighting the cause of Biafra. Instead of being a vigilante group that mediates, because during this period they mediate in conflicts, they kind of settle disputes in the village. I happen to come from Imo State, Nigeria, and my village happened to be the base of this ESN, Eastern Security Network. And I can tell you today that nobody is in my village apart from old men and women because of this issue. So, because of all this issue, then this sit at home came up. Okay, how did ESN end up? How did they change the political landscape of Eastern Nigeria through this sit at home? Sit at home formerly was a movement used by Easterners to celebrate fallen Biafran heroes, those that died during the Biafra war. It comes up annually every 30th May every year. The Biafrans are expected to sit in their houses and pay respect to these heroes who died while fighting their cause. So, but with the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu, sit at home became a permanent like kind of movement. Then until Nnamdi Kanu is released from prison, because this was what the assistant, the person assisting Nnamdi Kanu actually pronounced, that we had to sit at home every Monday for us to tell the government that we're not happy that they arrested the IPOB leader. We are not happy of what is happening. We are not happy of the marginalization and the exclusion in the politics, in appointments and all that. So Nnamdi Kanu was arrested, and till date, every Monday he sits at home in Eastern Nigeria. Okay, how again did they change this political landscape? And this sit at home has actually done more harm than good, because the people are traumatized. People are forced to sit in their homes. So people are tired. People said, as I speak, some parts of Igbo land are no longer observing this sit at home. But because Imo State and also local government is the base of this ESN, guys. There is no way if this also local government, the people living in also local government, there's no way they are free to move around. In fact, every Monday when you come to that local government, you will not see a single fowl on the road. And if you try to move around, in fact, it got to a point that from here to here you see dead body. From here to here you see dead body. It was that bad. So they have actually changed this landscape. They alter the peace of the environment. They created tension and crisis in eastern Nigeria. Then another way is even through its emergency alone, they alter the political landscape because new alliances emerge. We don't even know who are the true ESN. Anybody can come up and give order. Sometimes we just hear Monday to Friday is sit at home. And the people will sit in their house without going to market, without going anywhere. You find out that they have really altered it. And you find out that these people giving these orders are not even in Nigeria. First example, a man called Simon Ekpa, who is based in Finland, will give his order. Another man called Powerful Ejimofo will give. So they have lost control of this movement. And it has been taken over, it has been hijacked. And now in eastern Nigeria, we now witness this unknown gunmen. You find out that these unknown gunmen, they just kill, they just do things to scare people. Most politicians, in fact, no politician in Imo State or in that local government comes home to the village. In fact, most of the houses are burnt down. Most of the houses were burnt down and all that. So another way, it also altered the political landscape of Southeast was through creating tension and crisis.
2 more minutes.
And all that. So looking at the emergence of ESN, it has its own implications, like it brought about economic meltdown, it brought about crisis, it brought about tension, it brought about killings, mass death. I lost cousins who joined the movement, ESN, but were killed. I lost people, relatives that did not even join, but because they were just, how will I put it? Because maybe they move at an odd hour along the line, they will be killed. And because of this, ESN and military, Nigerian military, they are always clashing. As I speak to you, the biggest market in my local government, in fact, in the whole of also local government and other places, have all closed down or shut down. So, and it's been, how will I put it? It's been terrible. So what I want to say is that sit at home or ESN has not actually done any good. You know, it has actually caused more harm than good. But I also want us to understand that dialogue is a tangible tool to, putting an end to this, because through sit at home or any other violent means, I don't think Biafra will be achieved, because you don't shoot yourself and expect another person to die. You don't poison yourself and expect another person to die. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oluchi, for your presentation. The canon of your presentation is anchored on perceived political expression of political exclusion or marginalization, which has become a recurring decimal after the proverbial no winner, no vanquish, Biafra, post-Biafra, civil war, peace, resolution of peace management. To the point that no winner, no vanquish has been described as a scam.
Yes.
You seem to have painted the Eastern Nigerian Security Network in the mode of the Palestinian Liberation Force, Palestinian Liberation Army, as a wing of the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization. Some form of similarity there. You are saying that political expression or expression of political exclusion has led to the shift in political expression, which has made the Eastern Security Network to transmogrify from being a vigilante group to an informal army of an imaginary Biafra republic. And you have had issues like unknown gunmen, mass murder, and then a total disruption of the peace of society. And you are recommending dialogue. I don't know whether the discussants, when the time comes, whether dialogue will be with who are going to be the parties to this dialogue and all of that. I leave that to the discussion. I'll move on to the second presenter. Thank you for managing very well. The second presenter will be the duo of Feyisayo Akindoyin and Shina Alimi from Obafemi Awolowo University. They will be interrogating violence and vulnerability in Africa's socio-political space, new Biafra crisis as an instance. If Feyisayo and Shina are in the house or online, can you please go ahead with your 10 to 12 minutes now?
Okay, thank you very much. I am Akindoyin Feyisayo, and I will be representing myself and Dr. Shina Alimi to present the paper titled Violence and Vulnerability in Africa's Socio-Political Space, Neo-Biafra Crisis as an Instance. While the first presenter was presenting, she was so passionate about what she was talking about due to her experiences. But I will be talking on the Nigerian Biafra situation from another perspective. First, I will go into the introduction by first describing what I mean by violence. And by violence, I mean the use of force, and sometimes not necessarily the use of force, but the use of other means that are not peaceful, that are not necessarily peaceful. Then by vulnerability, I mean weakness. According to Webster's dictionary, vulnerability means to wound. I mean weakness, I mean the position of helplessness. And by Neo-Biafra crisis, I mean incidences, forms of protest, different forms of groups and individuals that has come up to fight for the case of Biafra since after 1970, when the Nigerian Biafra crisis ended. And the scope of the study will be between 1970 to date, because 1970 marked the end of the Nigerian Biafra crisis. And to date, we are still experiencing different forms of Nigerian Biafra crisis and situations. Is the next slide. How does violence and vulnerability intersect in Africa's socio-political space? And in what ways does vulnerability promote violence? How has collective vulnerability continued to reawake political tension and instigate violence? By talking about collective vulnerability, I mean a situation whereby vulnerability has become a form of communal identity. Everybody in that environment, in that society, feel weak. They feel that they are vulnerable. They feel that there is a force bigger than them trying to exploit them. So, because of this feeling translates to another action. It translates to protests. It translates to crisis. It translates to violence and not violence means of protest, because they think that a bigger force is around somewhere, trying to force them, trying to keep them, trying to have a stronghold on them against their own will. And the vulnerability is communal. It is general. Everybody in that group, in that ethnic group, share that sense of communal vulnerability. They are all vulnerable. They are all watching themselves. They are all feeling weak. They all have the sense that a higher force is against them. Please, the next slide. And the next. The next, please. Okay, thank you. So after the Nigerian Biafra crisis, there have been different means of protest and agitation. The media
was used as a tool for agitation activism. There are different forms of news. Different individuals who come up every day with different forms of headlines from 1970 till date. You will see an headline like Biafra, a dream deferred. Biafra's section in legal and political analysis. Nigerian civil war, a nation's quest for peace. Biafra agitation, a new generation's quest for freedom. Many people keep talking about this idea of Biafra. They keep talking about Biafra consistently on the news. They keep lending out their voice on the news and using other forms of media, social media, to protest. And there are individual roles. We have people like Rav Uwazoruke and Nnamdi Kanu, who at different points in time had, led groups to protest. They had lent their voice. They had protested through violence and non-violence means, sometimes through civil disobedience, and sometimes through protests. Also, we have different groups that were formed by different persons. The MASOB, Movement for Actualization of Sovereign State of Biafra, the IPOB, the BZM, the BSF, and the ESM. All these groups have ideas in common. They are protesting. They have nationalistic ideas. They just want to see. They want to stop being a part of Nigeria. They want to form their own group. It could be through violent means, and it could be through non-violent means. But all these groups, they share similar dreams and ideology. They want a state called Biafra. Please, the next slide. So what then is collective vulnerability? I gave a little hint earlier, but these are my definition of what communal vulnerability is. A communal feeling that promotes and provokes ideas and strengthening of principles. You just know that you are weak. And within yourself and within your group, you want to struggle. You want to struggle. You have that idea, that mentality that Biafra is the solution due to your weaknesses and experiences. Then that promotes the idea of the need for protection of a community. You have a sense that your community is vulnerable to attack, to violence. So you are just thinking. The groups are just thinking. They think that they are under a siege. So they are thinking of a way to protect themselves. It fosters feeling of unity within a group. That idea brings them together. You can see the establishment of different groups and people who share in that ideology. So it promotes a sense of insecurity, distrust, and fear. They are just afraid. They believe that they are weak. There is this external body, this external force, bigger than them, that may come for them, that they must fight against, a bully, so to say. So vulnerability has become it fosters the belief in dreams and in ideological spaces than in reality. They have not lived in Biafra. Nobody has lived in Biafra. It was declared for some period of time, for about 3 years. And there was continuous struggle that this state should be established. Nobody has lived in it, but people believe in a space, a geographical location that only existed in the mind of people, that nobody has actually experienced, to be the solution of their problem. And by so, they are fighting a bigger hegemon that stands against that ideology, that stands against that dream region. Vulnerability has become an instrument of collective identity. Everybody feels attacked in your region or in another person's region. Every policy, then they have the sense that every policy is against them, while in the real sense, this region happens not to be the only vulnerable group in Nigeria. There are other minority groups who are also vulnerable due to maybe sometimes lack of inclusion. But because of their experience, the civil war, and other forms of experiences that they might have had, individually or collectively, there is this sense of collective vulnerability. Please, the next slide. So therefore, I conclude that vulnerability promotes violence, and the collective vulnerability of the people of Nigeria have continued to reawake political tension and instigate violence. Vulnerability has become an instrument of collective identity. It has become an instrument to negotiate and to attempt to resuscitate their identity and dreams. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Felisa, for that presentation, which is another perspective to the issue interrogated earlier on by Oluchi. You have a look at vulnerability, and then you seem to be saying that vulnerability leaves rooms for value. And then we have had all forms of separatist agitationist movement, especially from the perspective of the southeastern part of Nigeria, from those who refer to themselves as Biafra, Secret Service, Biafra, Zionist movement, the movement for the actualization of the sovereign state of Biafra by Wazurike, and now the dreaded IPOB, by assumption led by Nnamdi Kanu, but commanded by somebody from Finland. Later on, I'm sure that the discussant, our distinguished professor, Professor Abiodun of Babcock University, will be doing justice to interrogating your paper further for all of us to discuss. Now, without much ado, I will move on to, I want to find out if Adede Jademola is already in the house. Otherwise, I'll move on to the last presenter. Is Adede Jademola now in the house? No. Okay. That leaves some more room for discussion at the end of the day. We'll move on to the last, the next presenter, Ridwan Kolawole from Fountain University in Osogbo. We'll be discussing media and stakeholder representation of IPOB secessionists in Nigeria. Ridwan, can you please go ahead with your 12 minutes now?
Thank you very much, sir. I'm Ridwan Kolawole from Department of Mass Communication, Fountain University, Osogbo. And today I'll be speaking to this topic titled Media and Stakeholders Representation of IPOB Secessionists in Nigeria. I thank the earlier presenters for that background given, to which I deliberately excluded from my work, as a media person and as journalist. So we rely on what happened in the society to give to the society. So Nigeria has faced insecurity from its different geopolitical zones, and every part of the country has its own share of problems from different perspectives. So one of these insecurity cases is ethnic-laden agitation by the government proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, which is yet to abate, particularly the southeastern part of Nigeria. This development and this practice, these activities of IPOB has impeded development, as we have recorded loss of lives, bomb downturn, destruction of property, among others. Then political instability is also part of what is happening in that region. IPOB is seeking a decision to have a Biafra land from Nigeria. We have Abia, Imo, Enugu, Ebonyi, who are the states claimed by the agitationists to be their land. It was more than that before, but those 5 states in the southeastern part of Nigeria are now considered to be the IPOB states, which they are claiming to a country. Yes, what is happening in southeastern Nigeria the media cannot just look without reporting it. It is part of the social responsibility. So they need to report what is happening. But how are they reporting this? So media are the constructors of social reality. So how are they presenting the reality? But the background I'd like to give is that in 2017, IPOB was proscribed by Nigerian government. After that, what has happened? How did the media construct the reality, the identity of these agitators in their reportage? Using framing as a media discourse, framing is a perspective through which we see issues as presented it in 1974. But framing again is how media have reported an issue. From what perspective are they reporting it? How and why are they reporting it in that manner? The essence of framing in media discourse is that the media want us to see a particular aspect while they are obscuring the other aspects. To guide me in this work, I have 3 questions which I ask and I try to provide answers to. Number 1 is, what is the representation of the IPOB Citizenship of Biafra in the Nigerian media space? Number 2, how do the stakeholders, security experts, public affairs analysts, academics, characterize the IPOB secessionists, and what is the implication of this for the country? Yes, I rely on this framing theory, which every government describes as we see issues, we describe issues, we present issues based on our experience. And this is the frame. The angle with which we see issue may not necessarily be the angle that other persons will see it. And that is why the way media see issue sometimes is not the same way public, the people, the audience of the media see it. But when media continue to present an issue from a perspective, it becomes a norm, especially in the society where people lack media education. So this is reinforced by Entman in his approach to framing, which he called constructionist approach to framing. I rely on the content analysis of the media. 3 newspapers were selected: Vanguard, The Nation, and The Leadership. So this newspaper was selected from the country based on the ownership. And you can see the direct ownership is South, and North, Northern ownership. Then in-depth interview with stakeholders, criminologists, security experts, among others, were done. So both media contents and stakeholders' perception were gathered using qualitative approach, and were so analyzed as well based on the themes emanating from these sources. Now, my findings. In what the media have reported, these are angles to which they have reported. These are the themes, or these are the identities used to frame the agitationists or agitators. Sometimes they use IPOB, another time they use proscribed group. They use militias, they use unknown gunmen, they use militants, they use separatist group, they use activists, they use IPOB terrorists. So in all this, the media, depending on how they feel, how they see, how they think they should report the activities of IPOB in the southeast of Nigeria. So they choose any of this, and I'm going to explain further on this as I progress. Yes, the media, they try to legitimize the proscription, or I mean to say, they did to undermine the legitimacy of the proscription by the government. So the media grossly undermined the proscription status of the IPOB through their reportage. The media hardly called IPOB terrorists as presented by the government earlier in 2017. The media's choice of words presented an aspect of the disgruntled citizens or angry people or marginalized people. That's how majority of the media have presented these agitators and their activities. For instance, we see the indigenous people of Biafra has placed a ban on October 1st independence anniversary celebrations across the Southeast. So that's according to the Nation newspaper. Then another story, I was a week after calling for the release of the embattled leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. So the highlighted words or phrases are those I want us to pay attention to. In another one, leadership newspaper of March 4, you can see, meanwhile, the police in Imo State have declared a manhunt for the government to an invasive way of not saying IPOB behind the gruesome killing of the Labour Party candidate for Ono Imo State constituency. Yes, there are a number of headlines, but these are just a sample because of the time. The stakeholders, they are to react to this presentation by the media or the reportage by the media. So one of the interviewees said, let us be real. All manner of violence and kidnappings targeting civilians or security forces are orchestrated by IPOB militants. It's armed wing known as the Eastern Security Network. For instance, 11 people, including 5 military men in the Obinga local government area of Abia State, were killed on May 30, 2024. So this is a perception of a stakeholder, a security expert, who believe that they can be called militant, but they cannot be exonerated from the killing. If you use gunmen, you use activists, you use agitators, they are the one who perpetrated the evil. I infer that the media might want to be politically correct and sympathize with the perceived marginalized group in that region. It is understandable. Everybody, including the media, have their own opinion on what the government does or what the government has done. So the proscription of IPOB is not important to the media, as this study has found out. So I therefore conclude that this study shows the media introduced varied frames and identities into the attacks carried out by the IPOB agitators, even though I also call them agitators. But the law of Nigeria is that they are not just agitators because they have done more than what an agitators do. So the government has called them a terrorist group. Whether this will solve the problem is left to the government and the group to decide, especially that their leader is still in incarceration. This presents seemingly complicity of the media on one hand, and sympathy the media have for the group as a result of the unpopularity of the government on another. So I recommend, like I've said earlier, that the government will need to engage more with the media to achieve its aim on one hand, and also dialogue with the leaders in the Southeast, especially when some people have been identified to be supporting this proscribed group, whether at home or outside the country, like Simon Ekpa, like the Oluchis mentioned earlier. So it's important for the government to ensure that the region is rid of violence, which has claimed the people that the IPOB group also promised that they want to govern. So if they have killed people that they want to govern, who are going to be governed at the end of the day? Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Ridwan. That's a beautiful presentation. I relate very well to your presentation because that's my area of research and endeavor as well.
Thank you very much.
You seem to be talking about the media and stakeholder representation of IPOB, and you interrogated media framing of this group, whether as terrorist group, proscribed group, or non-government activists, separatist agitation movements, as all, getting, consumed in the question of who sets media agenda. Yes. You seem to be saying that the media, as a constructor of a social reality, seems to be setting an agenda, by making most of us to believe either wrongly or rightly, that this IPOB is either proscribed group or non-government as the various, category that they have been identified in the social space. So it looks like we need to also interrogate. I'm sure that the discussant will also maybe venture into that. Who set agenda for the agenda setter? If the media set agenda, or they are the constructor of a social reality in this instance of IPOP, we need to interrogate the larger question of who sets the agenda for the agenda setter. Is it the Nigerian government that is setting it? Is it the international terrorism financing organization? Is it the politically marginalized people of the southeastern part of Nigeria, or newspaper proprietors? You use in your content analysis those newspapers and with proprietorship, from maybe different zones of the country as an evidence of the way the media frame their subject matter. In all of this, the people of the Southeast have become a criminalized and marginalized category, and we are left with the same recommendation that we have seen from everywhere: dialogue. The question is dialogue among who and between who and who, and all of that. I leave that for the discussant. I want to find out if Kolawole is now, Adedeji Ademola, whether he's back in the house. Otherwise, we will go on to the discussant and we'll have enough time to do our discussion. Is Adedeji, back in the house now?
No.
Okay. So I want to appreciate the three paper presenters. It looks like that's what we're going to be dealing with in the next 44 minutes that's remaining, which means we have 15 minutes we are increasing the discussant allotted time to 15 minutes so that we still return with 30 minutes to do in-house discussion. We must, at this point, recognize the organizer of this, Dr. Moye Burale, who is a distinguished scholar from Babcock University. It looks like this is a university agenda or contribution to the Lagos Studies Association 2024, because we have the organizer, Omoye from Babcock, distinguished Professor Makela Bedon, who is in his sabbatical at Ajayi Crowther University as discussant, and my humble self, also of Babcock University, answering this session. So, Professor One, the table is now within your firm grip and control. Is Professor One, I know it's online. I don't know whether he's able to feed into the house. Professor One, we can't see your face, neither can we see your voice. Is everybody able to hear from Professor One?
Not from here.
Okay. Professor One, I hope there's no network issue from his end.
Yes.
What is happening?
Hello? Okay, yes, we can hear you now.
I have carefully listened to the three papers, and they dwell much on the agitations in the Southeast, but I have seen some gaps which I have to cover in this discussion. The gap of historicity, they did not look at the history of agitations very well. There are some important dates when you are talking of agitation in the Southeast. 1861 is a date that should not be forgotten. 1900 is a date that should not be forgotten. 1906, 1914, 1946, 1953, 1957, 59, 62, 64, 65. Then all those dates are very necessary because the beginning and what happened in those dates culminated into agitations. The Civil War, 1966, January, the coup, 1966, January 15, the counter coup, all those things were pointers to the Igbo's agitation. Set a sense of, marginalization, a sense of exclusion, a sense of alienation from the Nigerian system, not only political. And this continued until 1999. If you look at the political, which is the basis of this, the basis of our focus in this panel, at the emergence of leaders from 1960 to the present. If you are talking of somebody from the Eastern region being the president of Nigeria, only Nnamdi Azikiwe, who had no power of his own, and Aguiyi Rose, a military man, who equally was set packing from the political power. And if you come to this present 1999 till date, I will call Jonathan. Jonathan was reloaded into power by mother luck. Were not the facts that the president, he may not have gotten into power at all. But he got into power, the election became a problem. And since that time, no northerner has been able, no South person has been able to come into power. If you look at 1998 PDP primary, Obasanjo was a straight person to PDP, at least to public. Obasanjo defeated Ekweme, and Ekweme was sent on an ambassadorial position. So the Igbos, I am telling you, should be angry. The Igbo have reasons to be agitated because all that are happening were, seen as an attempt to ridicule them and frustrate them out of Nigeria. Nobody will blame them for trying to succeed, but constitutionally, I will not back any attempt to succeed from Nigeria. Though there are room for self-determination as provided for in the United Nations Charter and Africa Charter of Human Rights. But my only appeal to the people in the Southeast is to seek political solution. All this killing of their people, you are killing your people, you are not killing people from other areas. It's not proper enough. I will argue persuasively that there is need for them to network. I am telling you, there is a giant section of Nigeria. And when we are talking of a giant section of Nigeria, we are talking of a giant with superior population and superior geography. And if you go, because Buhari was advising them that if you want to be relevant, it will be difficult to win election. I'm sorry to say that. I've been saying this, have reasons to say publicly. They have a lot of demographic disadvantage. The demography is not to their advantage. Look at the last election. Yes, Peter Obi tried a bit, but how many people voted in the Southeast? Even though they voted massively, their vote was not enough to see him through. Peter Obi garnered support from other. If you look at the North, the pattern of votes in the North, I was telling my students one day in the class, but I want to say it clearly. If you don't want to listen, that is a problem. The problem is there are some northern states, some names are anathema to them and it will be difficult to cast their vote for them. Go and look at Zamfara, go and look at Kebbi, go and look at Kaduna, go and look at Sokoto. Look at the percentage of votes cast for Peter Obi is not likely to get 24% of 25% of votes cast in not less than 16 states in Nigeria. And this will be difficult for him to make his 25% of this cast. While the last election, ended up in a runoff, I can tell you, the Hausas, Fulanis, the owners of Nigeria will not vote for Peter Obi. They would rather vote for Atiku Abubakar, or better still, okay, Atiku Abubakar, who was the second runoff. They will not vote for Peter Obi. So the Igbos should please try to network, move inside. The first time Tinubu shot into the presidency was when he won, because he had penetrated, he had moved, he has spent years penetrating the North, the East, and the South. And that's what made it easy for him. I was still discussing with some people, they feel that election was rigged. As an expert in electoral studies with focus on Nigeria election, I am ready to contest that 2024 election to any length, that the election was not manipulated because of the technological device put into it. So Igbos has to move inward, move upward, move round to make friends. And only recently, there was a solution. They asked Nigerians to submit paper to House of Rep on political restructuring to ensure fairness, justice, and equity. And I look at a paper I had presented somewhere and I adjusted it. There lies justice, equity, and fairness. The paper recommended, and I'm happy the idea has been bought largely by the people from the Southeast. The paper recommended one single term of 6 years. What do you want to do within 6 years? You couldn't have done. One term of 6 years, then rotation. If the Southeast finish their rotation, let's the South, a bit to the North. When the North finishes, so let it come back to the South again. We have three geopolitical zones in the North and in the South. So what I recommend, a kind of cross-balance zoning and rotational arrangement Within 30 years, everybody will get it. But the situation where they will play with you, you will get it. When the election comes, you will see they will manipulate the party primary. And they come back to power again. So if we begin to rely on population, if we begin to rely on promises, the promises will always fail. So let us go political. Let the Igbos go political. The 32 Igbo House of Rep members had sent a bill. I'm not claiming glory for that bill, but my idea was part of the bill. Let the Igbos go lobby. Let them go and lobby for the thing to be accepted. 6-year single term presidency. Everything now boiled down to the state. Like the state I come from, Osun. Osun, there is marginalization, but it was not as obvious as Ogun State, where I live. In Ogun State here, do you know that Ogun West, for the past 25 years, I've not tasted governorship? I wouldn't know, but it's been rotating between Ogun East and Ogun East and Ogun Central. That is Abeokuta and Remo side. So we need to put a structure on the ground if we don't want this agitation to completely lead to another civil war and for you to forcefully leave Nigeria. At least we need to assuage them. We need to assure them that they are part of us. I'm looking for the presidency. Yes. Then if you look at the distributions of head of security institutions in the past few years, they have been denied too. So why can't we just assure the Igbo people to leave the streets by allowing them to know that the presidency belongs to us of us? I am reading some things again in newspaper. They say, let the population decide, not rotation. This is how they will play the game again, and the Igbo will be at a loss. If I've been in the East, I don't know where to join. But I know a solution finder does not face bullets. Because if you face bullets, you will die and die with your idea. I will appeal to the Igbo leaders at home and in diaspora to let us sit down. Negotiation, yes. Negotiations, let us negotiate. Let the federal government negotiate with the Southeast people on what to do. Let them. Nnamdi Kanu is ready for negotiation now. Let them be negotiated with. Let us find political solutions. Though there are countries that have separated without causing any harm, even not firing a single bullet worldwide and in Africa. So let us discuss. Let there be dialogue. If they want to go, let them go separately. Wasting lives. In the recent time, Mondays are wasted, people are shot, people are gone down, or no gunman, I did not buy that idea. So let us discuss with them. If they want to go. But for me, I don't want the Igbos to go. I don't want them to go. They are valuable because many things they produce, we will be using dollar or franc to go and purchase them from their country. So whatever leaders of Nigeria and the leaders of the Igbo nation should do, we should bring them back. We should assure them that Nigeria must remain one. That's
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prof, for your intervention, which has thrown further illumination to the papers and the presenters. I'm sure that they have taken note. Surely the need is to resize the separatist agitation and put it in proper perspective. And they need to also avoid what looks like a self-inflicted injury of orchestrating mass murder, in the name of coercing people to believe Biafra. If Biafra is an ideology that is viable, you don't need to kill your people, because these are people that will eventually become Biafrans if that idea sails through. And then the idea of excluding, young people from taking educational advantage of WAEC and all of that, they have also been saying not to be counterproductive. In addition to Monday sit at home that has also robbed them of the economic benefit of for the various families located in that zone. Thank you very much, Prof. We have about 25 more minutes. So we're going to go, live to everybody now to be able to ask questions and make comments. I'm going to limit those who will talk to 1 to 2 minutes maximum. But let me ask 1 or 2 questions from here so that I can set the ball rolling. For Oluchi and whoever cares to also answer, I want to ask the question, how can we understand or interrogate the genuineness of the separatist agitation in view of international terrorism finance? How can we interrogate, the genuineness of the separatist agitation in view of international terrorism financing? You have a Simon Ekpa staying in Finland, and then a lot of people believe that even Nnamdi Kanu is really down to heart ideological about this, or simply a beneficiary of costly life in London before that was cut short by his abduction, or is it repatriation from Kenya? Number 2 question from me, maybe for Faisal or any other person as well. Vulnerability of the socio-political space looks like self-inflicted. When people harbor criminals and you refuse to report to the apparatus of state, enforcement of peace, because either you are afraid or you believe that they constitute some form of vigilante, they end up becoming criminals that will decimate people's life and then exacerbate vulnerability, as a prompter of violence. So I want us to take a look at that and look whether vulnerability is not self-inflicted, because these people, just like the bandits everywhere, there are people who live among us. People probably know their location, but nobody wants to volunteer them to the instrument of force or coercion by state. That's talking about media or the police. You hide them away, but they are the ones terrorizing the community, and at the end of the day, they become monsters. For the media scholar, Ridwan Kolawole, you want to answer the question, who set the agenda for the agenda setter? If the media is a constructor of social reality, who set the agenda from the content analysis of the papers you have done? Who set the agenda for the agenda setter? Because the media people may be into framing, but some people frame the frame for the framers. As you say in agenda setting scholarship. You want to interrogate whether the Nigerian government is solid in this, whether the international terrorism financing politically marginalized people of Southeast, or the newspaper proprietor, who set the agenda for the agenda. So I would pause here and allow other people to come in now, because we have about 21 more minutes. So the floor is open. I'm sure that Omoye, the organizer, is there. You may want to help us recognize those who are on ground who would like to speak, while I look online to see whoever raised hand here.
Okay. Yes. Sorry. I heard that first.
Okay, thank you, Professor Nee, for your intervention. I do hope you would oblige me your contacts so that I can reach out to you in further discussion on this topic. And to the presenters, thank you so much for your presentation. But I have a few suggestions and questions for Oluchi, and Prof actually said part of my question already. The issue of ESN, we need to be able to establish when ESN was formed and why it was formed. It wasn't just because of the grievances. From my own research, it wasn't just because of the marginalization. It wasn't the marginalization that led to the establishment of the ESN, but the insecurity that had taken over the Southeast. And at that same period, the Omoteku was also triggered. So it was like a response, even though you might want to talk about the Ebubedike in the Southeast, Bubeagu in the Southeast. Sorry? Okay, then I have another question on, because your topic was basically on the political dynamics, the changes in the political dynamics. But in your explanation, you dwelt more on the economic perspective. Because when you're talking about the political upheaval that has occurred so far, you begin to talk about how the security issues in the Southeast have actually impacted the conduct of election. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So we had the instances of do not come out to register for any election, do not come out to vote, and that in a way impacted the outcome of the election. Then secondly, when you talk about political dynamics too, you begin to see it from the perspective of the government saying, oh, go out to work, no sit at home. And these IPOP people saying, dear it. So there's now a crisis between whom to obey among the two. So I think you can also link this to the political aspect of it. Then to my sister here who talked about vulnerability and collective sense of victimization and maybe collective sense of security and the rest of it. Collective ideology, maybe I should use that word. I want to say the use of that collectiveness in that broader sense can be a generalization, because I've had instances where I have spoken with so many people in the Southeast and even those of them in the diaspora and in Lagos here, and they tell you that they do not subscribe to the agitations and the killings happening in the Southeast. I mean, I was having a conversation with a respected professor here today, and she told me, I do not want to talk about the Southeast because I do not like what they are doing. They cannot continue to kill our people. So when you now put that sense of collective ideology, it means that everybody in the Southeast is in agreement with what is happening, and that is not so. So my brother who worked on media representation, towards the end of his presentation, he did say something like the government should partner with the media. And in my head, I'm like, why should the government partner with the media on how to represent IPOP when the government can actually take decisive action towards the genuine complaints that the people have? Why will the government need to pay media houses to kind of do image laundering? Why they can establish schools in the Southeast? Why they can actually put social infrastructure in the Southeast that will discourage people from taking part in things that I can bet you that many of those who are engaged with this type of agitation is because they feel marginalized. And the marginalization is in the areas of education. You tell people who scored 200 that they cannot gain admission into school simply because somebody who had 40 somewhere is being admitted. Why are you not recommending the holistic approach of taking care of the genuine concern of those people? Why suggest image laundering? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I allowed that much because I know your contribution looks very germane. I would plead that other people don't spend more than 1 minute so that we can take about 3, and then we return to the presenter to round up.
Okay, I want to join my sister to raise few issues, especially to the last speaker that talked about the agitation in the Southeast. To me, your submission looks to like an outsider perspective, because it does not represent what many of us know about what is happening in the Southeast. For instance, many schools of thought in the Southeast, they are asking questions. Who are the unknown gunmen, for instance, killing people? Many a times, some of these boys, they have been arrested, and we observe that they are not from the East. Who is sponsoring them? Why is it that the crisis in the South, it doesn't have a political undertone? There are some schools of thought that believe that machineries are being sponsored to destabilize that zone. If not so, why are you still holding in Nnamdi Kanu? Because if you release him, according to them, some of them that are agitating on his behalf, they said, we don't have problem. Our problem is that you are holding this man for nothing. Now, I would also like you to delve into the issue of inclusivity, so as this nation is concerned. What do you think about the role of the federal government in addressing the issue of agitation in the Southeast? Are they just agitating, or are there concerns? My sister has said something about one of the dimensions. You see somebody from the Southeast in the JAM, he will have 300, but he cannot get admission to the 12th course in the university. But you see another zone, he or she may have 50, 70, 100. You see him having the same course. You see that the same trend in employment in every aspect of this nation. So I am suggesting that the work should have a holistic perspective, a holistic understanding of the terrain, of what is happening, and the mindset of the people.
Thank you.
Let me summarize by saying that I think your work, you sound so pro-government, because your view concerning the nation, what is happening in the Southeast, you sound so pro-government. And I don't think you should come from that point of view. For instance, your comment about the last election, your comment about the person that won, does that represent, you said that if the election is being conducted again, he will still win, and Peter Obi did not win the election. How did you come to that? What is the school of thought, the view of the masses at the street? So I think that this work, you sound so external from the territory you are investigating. One, you also sound so pro-government. And I don't think that it is very wonderful for academics. God bless you.
Thank you very much for your opinion. Can we have maybe one more? How many more do we have in the house, Dr. Amaye?
Sir, we have 2 other questions. Yeah, I want to comment.
Okay, how many more people we have who would like to comment so that we can locate time very well?
After this speaker, we have just one more.
Just one more, okay. We can take this for 1-2 minutes. Yes.
Yeah, I want to commend the speakers for the work they've done and have a few comments and perhaps a few questions for the presenters. I want
we have 2 minutes. We have 2 minutes for that, please. 2 minutes.
Yes, I will. I will try my best.
Okay.
Let me start with the question. With the questions. The media, the person that presented on the media. The question I have is the connection and the relationship between the media. By the media, you are focusing on newspapers. But I'm wondering whether you've considered the social media where many people, especially the youth, get information about what is happening in their communities and the society. So maybe it would be nice to expand your definition of the media to include other sources of information that help people learn about the happenings around their community. On the question of vulnerability, honestly, I have concerns because using the word collective, which someone has already pointed out, appears generalization and also putting everybody in one basket as if the people have already accepted. There are various, Igbo people are not homogeneous, they are heterogeneous people. There are so many people who are not in support of what is going on in that part of the country. And so you may have to redefine what you mean by vulnerability and whether it's the right time to use in your analysis. And of course, I'm really thrilled by the presentation on the ESN, and we talk to you after the session to learn more about the headquarters of the ESN and what has been going. And I want also to echo what the last speaker said. I am really, I don't even know how to express it, dismayed that in an academic discourse of this nature, we have someone who put together a panel that is so narrow-minded in the analysis, in the presentation, and so alienated from and so insensitive to what is going on. Right. And that is unbelievable. This is an academic discourse that requires serious academic dialogue rather than biased perspective. That's not what we need in academic. Otherwise, we can make progress.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, the organizers. I just want to make
we have
1 minute.
4 minutes. I don't think we can.
Let me just say it in a sentence. Yeah, what please, I'm saying, excuse me, Mr. Chairman. What I'm saying is that we in the Southeast, we want one Nigeria, but we are being marginalized. Take it or leave it. Why is it that Sunday Igboho has been released and Nnamdi Kanu is held captive? So if we want this country to move, we should be honest with ourselves through fair and justice. If we want to end insecurity in Southeast, release Nnamdi Kanu, and we have peace. I have Lagos on Monday, but I couldn't travel on Monday. I have to arrive here on Sunday because I cannot move out of it on Monday. So if we want peace now, release Nnamdi Kanu, tell the government the power to release him, and we have peace. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think at this point we have to please take the microphone. That's the end of the contribution. Hold on. Yeah, please. As we
my reference is okay.
Can you allow this panel to be coordinated?
Let them finish.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing everybody. It looks like the presenters will have only 1 minute. Just speak. Let the presenters speak to just one question that you think is important. The other ones you can do
that. Thank you very much, sir. And my response to the question
1 minute.
That, I still believe that there is a sense of collective vulnerability. If you do not share in the idea of Biafra, the volatile nature of the environment, the volatile nature of that part still makes you vulnerable one way or the other. Thank you.
Thank you. The next presenter.
Okay. How can we understand and interrogate the genuineness of separatist agitation if the leaders are outside the country? For us to understand or see that see the genuineness of this agitation is when the insurgency is taking place in the East must have, fizzled out. Like this crisis going on, the killings and everything. If it can be put to an end, I think we can see genuineness. If these people outside country will stop giving orders, because they just wake up, some people will just wake up and say, Monday to Friday, you sit at home, and you find out that people are just sitting in the house doing nothing Monday to Friday. So that is the genuineness of this thing. If they can stop giving these unnecessary directives and orders, so I think that is part of this thing, and to also bring peace to the land. And
Thank
also,
you. The last presenter, that's okay. We can make do with just one major comment to each of the people. As Ridwan talk.
All right, I'm here. Bro, thank you very much.
Okay. Ridwan, 1 minute.
Yes, who said the agenda for the agenda setters? Yes, framing has to do, and we are doing here, we are even priming. There are issues, there are perspectives, there are various dimensions that I have spoken to, but as individuals, we also prime what we deem important. And that is why it's not only about government partnering with the media to fight some people. No, that is not it. So again, it has to do with who are the ones in charge of the media to dictate what the media should do. But it is what happens that the media will report. But the media has their own prerogative. They have their own rights, their own freedom to report what they feel they should report. But that is not the ultimate. People also, I said earlier, people also have the way they report their own issue beyond what the media are saying. Now, who said the agenda? I selected 3 newspapers with different ownership style, with this different ownership structure from different regions of the country. So you will see that the 3 of them, irrespective of where they came from, they are saying the same thing. So, and I said that it might be that the government unpopularity, the government is not popular. That is why the media is not even bothering about following what the government is saying. So in essence, there's the need to look beyond what the media is saying by the government and by the agitators. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Professor, just a minute.
Yes.
Okay, please. And also, I do not share in the ideas of the discussants. I do not believe in many of the things he spoke about. It sounds so insensitive. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think at this point, I want to appreciate everyone. We have the 2 minutes that is remaining, and that will be my concluding remarks. I want to appreciate Dr. Manye for putting this panel together. It has been, when you stay in Ukraine, I attended a meeting recently at MIT here in Boston, and then the facilitator says, when you get to a conference where people are not saying, hey, hi, hey, it means there's nothing that is being traded. So when you have a panel that is filled with emotion and passion, it means the subject matter is also very important. The question of the marginalization and of the southeastern part of the country is not to be gainsaid by anybody. That's clear enough. And then the route to solving this problem is the major issue that is in contention here, where a lot of people believe that the Southeast is marginalized and attention is not on. a lot of also other well-meaning Nigerians, including the discussants, maybe he's been too blunt in his approach. They are advising that scholarship and political activism from the Southeast must, adopt a method of inclusive penetration into other zones to, as well, maybe the media framing of average Southeasterner as not trusted, cannot be trusted with power. You have to reframe that concept so that people will believe that we have an honest disposition to leadership, and the perception, the very wrong perception from the north and everywhere will be minimized, and then we can have a politics of inclusion where the Southeast will not be, a marginalized category, more than any other group. I want to believe as scholars we are still friends, and we should remove emotion from all our feelings, even though we want a Nigeria that serves the interests of everybody. I think part of the scholarship intervention in the release of will be to begin to do a media framing that makes it look like when it's released, it will not continue to be through violent means. The OPC has been demilitarized more or less. Sunday Igboho is released, but it's no longer saying the Yoruba nation must go now, maybe because Tinubu is in power. I hope, and when the mention of Chibunya Nwayahu and others can be taken into consideration, and Nnamdi is released, then we can have structured agitation from the Southeast that will be to the exclusion of violence. May the Lord, help Nigeria as we help ourselves to be one, and they will remain so. Thank you very much, everyone, for being part of this session. I appreciate you all. And thank you, Mboye, for putting us together.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you, everyone.
Dr. Moye.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think Dr. Moye can provide the number of contact for anybody that needs over there, for those who have requested for one contact or the other. Thank you. Yes. God bless. That's the end of the